Thank you so much for tuning in today to Look Before You Speak. As you're aware, the program attempts to draw attention to the fact that we need to think about the ways in which we look at things and consume things and really condition ourselves to look. Commercial television, as you know, conditions us to images that are in front of our eyes for less than a second. So commercial television is just bang, bang, bang. So since the 1940s until now, we've been conditioned to look at the world in different ways. So this season, in Look Before You Speak, we're inviting artists in and just focusing on the matrix of which the artists are creating. And today we're thrilled to have Erin Langley with us.
Yep.
And she's a student just about to graduate at the University of Montana. We're thrilled to have her with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. So we're going to move over to and get the camera set up and visit with Erin as she works.
I've been calling them sculptural paintings. So they hang on the wall, and they are a painting, but they also have these sculptural elements that come off.
So it's a relief.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's great. And what are the materials that you're using?
So the base is a wood panel, and then it's built up with an armature that's made out of wire, plaster gauze, and yeah, absolutely, and spackle.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I use that plaster gauze that you use for like making a cast.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you from jumping in here.
Okay.
How long have you been creating these?
They've kind of evolved, but I'd say doing these relief style paintings, I'd say a little over a year. Our days kind of revolved around a mixture of playing in the woods or going to the beach. So yeah, I definitely had a lot of experience being outside with the landscape.
Were your parents pretty supportive of you as an artist?
They were, yeah. I joke that they were almost too supportive. My dad's a musician.
Oh. Okay.
He's an experimental jazz musician, so he gets it. And my mom is a preschool teacher, so they were very supportive.
And you travel all this way.
Yeah.
And do you have a sense of camaraderie with other artists in the community here?
I do, actually, and I found that really quickly. I moved here about 2 years ago, and I found the art community in Missoula to be very supportive. And it's been great. I have a little group of friends, and we do little shows sometimes of our work, and yeah, I found it to be extremely supportive. Let's see.
When you were growing up, did you have a sense of that you were different in any way because you were an artist? I mean, it's a strange question.
Yeah, no, I think maybe to some extent, but I had such a supportive community that I feel like when you're a kid, you kind of have your trick or your shtick that you do, you know, sports or dancing or music or something, and I felt like art was kind of mine, and in that sense, I felt different, but it was a good thing. Yeah. Gonna mix some molding paste to give it a little more.
What do you see as your, like, this is, we're looking at something that's kind of abstract, but to me relates to the land in some way.
Yeah.
It's the way I'm interpreting it.
Yeah.
But what do you see as your influences for your decisions to get to this place?
I guess as far as these shapes and, you know, taking it into relief and taking it off the wall a little bit, I think my primary influence was mostly looking at art history, specifically the Baroque and the Rococo periods. Just kind of looking at this exuberance and grandeur a little bit and trying to translate that into, they were telling biblical stories or literary stories, so they had to be representational. But I think there's a place for that exuberance and kind of over-the-top quality with abstraction.
Yeah, so you're moving away from a narrative
Yeah.
and towards a something that's, well, can I use the word more expressionistic?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You can use that word, yeah. And I think it universalizes it a little bit. People can see, when things are abstract, people can find different things in it for themselves, which I really like. Whether or not that was my specific intention.
The concept of the program relates to looking
Yeah.
and really looking at something.
Yeah.
And how valuable do you think that whole thing is as an artist?
I think it's extremely valuable. Just taking a time to really analyze something rather than flipping through it and looking for the next fix of an image, I think is really important.
What is that?
This is just acrylic, but it's phosphorescent green, which is this great color I just discovered.
Oh.
It has like a glow-in-the-dark quality to it, which I really like. It doesn't glow, but it looks like it could.
So it has a fluorescence?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's water-based?
Yes. Yep.
I noticed that the
Let's see.
you have a collage element of...
Yeah.
Is that something you use, incorporate into your reliefs?
I do. A lot of times I use found objects if I enjoy their color or their shape. This was actually a previous painting that I dismantled that I wasn't happy with, but I thought it could have a place in a new painting, and I liked the colors of it too. I still will make, quote, traditional paintings on flat surfaces, but I find that I kind of crave that texture or that height. So even when I do work primarily flat, I will try to find some sort of way to give it a lift with texture somehow. But I'm really enjoying getting away from the strict square. I mean, this is still a square in a sense, but I like breaking that frame a little bit. I just find it really interesting.
I just find it really enjoyable to hear that your connection is centuries old.
Yeah, yeah.
That it's not that, I mean, I might have walked in here and made the judgment that this was, the influence was from the 60s.
Yeah.
Or the abstract expressionists.
Yeah.
But it seems like you're, and to many of those artists of the 60s, they were also connected to the Baroque and Renaissance.
Absolutely, yeah.
So.
And that's all in me for sure. Like, I love pop art and I love ABX. But I think also maybe part of the cultural conversation along with those two are, I guess, like the Baroque period, it wasn't seen by the public as a legitimate art. It was legitimate, but not, it was kind of poked fun at. The word Baroque kind of, I think it's Portuguese for unpolished pearl or something like that. So once I found that out, I kind of ran with it too, because it's funny that it's kind of held up as this like beacon of art history in a way. Not so much as the Renaissance maybe, but yeah, it was a little less than because of its over the topness.
Yeah.
And I feel like pop is like that as well.
A great deal of art is about the whole concept of empathy.
Yeah.
Like understanding, well, this is the decision that this person is making over this surface. And
Yeah.
Do you ever take, when you have working on a piece, do you ever rotate them as you're working?
I do, yeah, all
Okay.
the time. I actually, a lot of these pieces start out flat. I'll kind of prop them up on a paint can or something, and I put it on a small table, and I can walk around it as I'm working. This orientation right here is more just because of the way it's hanging for this segment, but we might rotate it as I'm working on it.
This reminds me of music.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes when we listen to music, we can empathize with the decisions that a musician is making, putting one note next to another.
Yeah. I definitely enjoy, seeing, with music, hearing the process, but with art, seeing the process of the artist, seeing the line of thinking. Okay.
What dictates you have like hundreds of colors there.
I know.
How are you making your choices about colors?
I think a lot of it is their relationships to each other, for sure. And a lot of this will change. I like to kind of slap things on and then decide later. Maybe we'll just mix right on here. I like to just let myself work kind of quickly in the beginning and then slow down later on.
And then you revisit.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And in my studio, I have a lot of things going on at once.
Yeah.
So it's easy, even just the logistics of it, like letting something dry. Sometimes I have to leave it because it's wet. But yeah, this final iteration may be a lot more subdued. But like I said, I like to just go fast in the beginning.
I'm hoping that as people are looking at this, that they too might have a sense of, gee, she should be doing this.
Yeah. That's okay with me.
I know it is. It is. It's. I think it's one of the really cool things of seeing artists work and questioning their decisions and questioning what they're seeing and how they're putting things together.
Yeah.
And that's art.
Yeah. And I don't know, let's see. I feel like even with this white, I don't particularly love that moment, so I can just come back and cover it up. And I forgot my palette knife, but I'll just use my finger. And clean it off. There.
So you said you've been exhibiting with other artists in the community?
I have. I put together a really great group show with my friend Peyton Humble last summer. It was called
Peyton
Seats.
is actually coming in next week.
Yeah.
That's great.
He might tell you about it too, but
Okay, that's good.
yeah, it was just a group of artists. We did some site-specific sculptures and performances at Free Cycles, and we had a really great turnout. It was great.
So do you consider yourself a sculptor or a painter or a combination, or you just don't really classify yourself as one or the other?
I kind of classify myself as a painter. I think in a painterly way, even when I'm doing other mediums. Even a photograph can be painterly, or a sculpture I think can be painterly too.
Yeah. I think an important aspect as we look at work is especially works in progress. It's very important, and this is something I really struggle with because especially works in progress is not making judgment statements about That's great. That's good. That's bad. And because as we're looking at things, our eyes are gathering information of what this is about. So we're identifying what is happening. And that's okay. That's okay in art, is just to get in that stage where we're not judging. Because judging is natural. Judging is something that occurs to us in a natural way. And so just look and absorb, identify what's happening, identify the action of the artist, the emotion behind the artist. Just choosing the colors reflects emotion and decision making, and reserve judgments. The judgments will be natural for you as you look at art. We live in a time when they're pretty knee-jerk. Wow, you're working pretty thick.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I do usually have more. I should have probably brought more than one thing so I could work.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay.
This is great. There I am. I'm making mine. And the other thing about when you do make judgment statements, either in front of an artist or if you're out visiting a gallery and you're making judgment statements, you're influencing the people around you.
Yeah.
And just remember to collect information with your eyes. Just be looking, seeing, identifying, describing what is happening. Like you're describing what is happening with the artist. And judgments are easy, or really simple and easy. But learn to inform yourself with what your eyes are absorbing and seeing, and understand why it is that you have these strong feelings of this is great, or this really is terrible. I mean, but learn how to take a step back, and also be respectful of other people that arrive in a different place than you do. There is an audience that will be out there that may have an opposing view of yours, and respect that. Just learn how to gain integrity by the information that you're collecting and what it is that you're identifying before you with your eyes. That's really wonderful. It's really wonderful. So, and that's what this program's about. What are you doing there?
I'm gonna add some sand.
Oh,
Yeah. I just like the texture that it gives to the paint. Let's see. Add a little water.
those things about even when we're very young, 5, 6, 7, we have judgments inside of us.
Yeah.
We can go. And
I feel like those judgments in a way are a little more pure, and then they get a little messy once we get older. Less baggage when you're younger, I feel.
yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I think we carry with us as adults more prejudices.
Absolutely.
Hey, good catch.
Yeah.
I was about ready to.
It's a $20 tube of paint. We're going to waste that.
So that will, when that dries, that will really give you some depth.
Yeah, and it gives, it kind of makes the paint a little chalky, which I kind of like. So up next to a shiny paint, the chalkiness is really pleasant. And gives it a nice body too.
Now, what is your next thing that's going on in your art life,
Yeah.
your art career?
Yeah.
What's the next thing that's happening for you?
So the next big thing is the BFA exhibition at UM. It's going to be at the Gallery of Visual Arts starting April 19th. I think it runs for about a month.
Okay.
And that's the big kind of thesis exhibition of the undergrads.
So the Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Bachelor of Fine Arts, yep.
Okay.
I don't want to pay a lot of money to go to grad school. And yeah, I mean, maybe teaching at the collegiate level. I'm not entirely sure. I definitely, want to still work as a studio artist. I just need to find a way to make that happen.
But there's something very natural about artists as teachers.
Yeah,
And even if your goal is to be a studio artist,
yeah,
you have a great deal to share.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is so difficult to, or I find it as I'm thinking about this, is it's so difficult to think of, you're thinking of color on top of form.
Yeah.
So, there's all of this thing of, and part of it's photography, but part of it's also the history of painting on the matrix, the flat.
Yeah.
Just flat, you eliminate
Yeah.
the texture.
Yeah.
And now you have this challenge going on
Yeah.
here, which is a lot different.
Yeah. I definitely enjoy, instead of the illusion of something coming out at you, it's kind of great to just make it come out at you instead. Let the illusion become reality.
Yeah. I haven't asked this, but am I in your way?
No, you're
Okay.
not. You're fine. Thank you. Let's see. Maybe some more of this.
It's so, one of the things I think a lot about with artists as they go is as they go through life, and this happens, I think, with every art form, is you're in grade school and there's, everyone's an artist.
Yeah.
And then you get to middle school and, 30% are artists. And then in high school, 10% of the people are artists. And then you get into, there's a handful of people that go to school to seriously study.
Yeah.
And then you're at a stage where many, many, many people give it up.
Yeah.
And abandon it.
Yeah.
And just have a lot of respect for the people who have made it this far and continue and remain committed.
Yeah.
And then in graduate school, there's fewer and fewer still.
Yeah. I think kind of growing up the way I did, I saw, especially my dad, kind of cobble together careers, but still able to do your art. Not even on the side. It's just.
And he was a musician.
He was a musician.
Still is a musician.
He constantly playing gigs. He teaches on the side. He'll take graphic design jobs on the side. I think that having that as a example has been really great because it kind of shows you the possibilities of where you can take your art and that it might not always look like what you thought it was going to look like career-wise. So that's been really great.
So gifted or talented.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's really hard to keep going. It's not the most welcoming, career path, but I think it's really rewarding.
Our world really needs our audience a more audience that is compassionate.
Yeah.
And I think the rapid fire way of looking has allowed people to make rapid fire judgments about music, theater, and dance, and
Yeah.
and painting, and harsh.
Yeah.
And instead of going and being dismissive of the arts.
Yeah, I
And,
agree.
So we need more compassion in the world.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree. Let's see.
So we're going to wrap up here in just a
Yeah,
little bit.
okay.
And I've been talking way too much.
It's okay.
So sorry. And I'm wondering if you could talk about how you envision finishing this.
Absolutely. I think what my general process is, like I said before, go fast from the get-go. Just make some kind of rapid, kind of knee-jerk reactions to color and form. Let it dry. This takes a little while. And get back into my studio and maybe edit a little bit. Maybe bring in, for instance, maybe I'll see that this is getting a little too convoluted over here, a little too confusing. Maybe I'll come in with a larger shape to just kind of block that off and make this more of a background for another shape to live on top of.
So you won't go back and build up the surface?
I may.
Oh,
I'll see
okay.
how I feel.
Okay.
I definitely do a lot of layers building up, and it's kind of different with every piece, believe it or not. But I'll definitely change the orientation and see what I like better, and yeah, maybe just adding, like, I got kind of a candy palette going on right now. I might try to add maybe some more of this color here. More primary blue to just tone things down a little bit.
Do you ever have difficulty deciding when something is done?
Always.
You
yeah.
do?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I do. These pieces for my BFA exhibition, this will probably be in it in some iteration. I'm thinking of interacting with the wall a little bit more and maybe painting the wall. So a lot of these aren't going to come together until I'm installing them on the wall. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I'm always wondering if it's done or not.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
in today.
thank you.
And keep up that good work.
Thank you so
And
much.
keep at it and don't give up doing
I won't.
art. Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Please join us next week.